Okay, this review will be on the 1953 National League champion Brooklyn Dodgers. This team won 105 games in the regular season, and I'm going to be doing this video in a little bit of a reverse fashion that I usually do my team analysis videos on because I'd like to spend a little bit more time talking about the offense and my thoughts on it. So, first, let me go through the starting rotation and bullpen real quick. Let me show you the starters and their numbers right now. You can see that those numbers are just checking out a little bit above average. Erskine is a legitimate ace in your rotation. And as far as the numbers that you get out of Russ Meyer, Billy Lowe's, and Preacher Rowe, I think their grade would have come out a little bit better if they were just a little bit better at keeping the ball in the ballpark. But you could see between their home runs and their ballpark effect home runs, giving up power can be a little bit of an issue with this starting rotation. So I had the 1953 Dodgers starting rotation come out at a score of a 3.5 out of 5. Now let's go over the bullpen real quick. Let me show you all the numbers for Clem Labine, Jim Hughes, Bob Milliken, Ben Wade, and Johnny Padres. Now, it was actually Jim Hughes who had the most saves on this 1953 Dodgers staff. He had 9 saves in that season, but I went with Labine as the closer. He had 7 saves and he threw 110 innings, albeit he did start 7 games during the season. So I kind of just went with Labine as the closer out of the bullpen. So you see all of their on base chance numbers. And you can see the numbers are just okay. Nothing really sticks out as really being a shutdown, lockdown guy. I think Hughes is definitely your best option to use on the team when you need to get a good right-handed bat out. As you see, he has a nice number. As far as getting on base, when you roll his card and he's facing a right-handed batter and he keeps the ball in the ballpark versus right-handed batters, but nothing really sticks out in this bullpen. It's just an okay bullpen. I gave Labine a nice score of a 4 out of 5. I do find him to be a pretty effective closer because I like his on base chance numbers. The one drawback on his card, as you could see, is he has 3 chances on his card um, when he's facing a right handed batter to give up a home run. But overall, I have the 1953 Dodgers bullpen coming out at an overall score of a 3.25, which basically means they're just a little bit above average. That is the best I could say about this Dodgers bullpen. Defensively, everything is looking really good on the 1953 Dodgers. They actually came out at an overall score of a 4.03, which is excellent. The only issues that you have in the field is in left field, you have Jackie Robinson, who Strat-O-Matic has as a 4, but he does help your E rating grade as he's only an E7. You have Gil Hodges at first base. He has a double digit E rating, which I'm not crazy about, but the rest of the defense is looking excellent. I love the defense you get at third base with Billy Cox. He's a 1 and an E11. That's a big help at third base because, like we always talk about, the splits at first base and third base are very high. And I actually prefer it if you have a low E rating at those positions. Lots of times I will just ignore if someone is like a 3 or a 4 at one of those positions, just as long as their E rating is in line. But Billy Cox is really the best of both worlds, as he's a 1 and an E11. You got Pee Wee Reese at shortstop. The E rating is just a hair over that E26 mark, which is where I don't like going any higher. But Reese is solid at shortstop, and he's flanked by Jim Gilliam at second base, who's very good. So the defense overall is looking very nicely for the 1953 Dodgers. Again, they score a 4.03 out of 5. Now, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the 1953 Brooklyn Dodgers offense. And I should apologize right off the bat because I remember in one of my previous videos, I just can't remember which one it was. So I apologize to that if this subscriber happens to be watching this video. But I remember a while back, one of my subscribers in the comments actually tipped me off to how good the 1953 Brooklyn Dodgers team is. And honestly, I'm just going to say right off the bat, I think this is the best offensive team I've ever seen in Strat-O-Matic. Now, let's take a look at the numbers. Now, first of all, you had no platooning on the 1953 Dodgers, so it's going to be very easy to go player by player in the lineup. Basically, all 8 guys played every day. At the top of the order, you got Jim Gilliam at second base and Pee Wee Reese at shortstop, and you see their on base chance numbers right there. Those are very good numbers. Now let's get into the meat of the order, and I'm going to go player by player here and show you all of their numbers. First, let me get started with Duke Snider, the everyday center fielder. Hits third in the lineup. You see his on base chance numbers, and you see his hits with multiple base advancements. So you're looking really good there. Your cleanup hitter, left fielder Jackie Robinson, and you could see looking at those numbers that you really have a really nice dual threat batting cleanup in this Dodger lineup. You got Jackie Robinson, who has tremendous numbers getting on base, and he has very good numbers when it comes to hits with multiple base advancements. So you're looking really, really good there. Your number 5 hitter is the catcher, Roy Campanella. Now, Campanella, just like most power hitters, his hits with multiple base advancement can go up significantly depending on the ballpark he's playing in, because he has a couple of fly ball outs that are ballpark effect home runs if you play the advanced version. So you're looking really good there with Campanella. Now let's look at the number 6 hitter, your everyday first baseman, Gil Hodges. And you can see these numbers are just one right after the other. It's just, I mean, these numbers are incredible. Now let's look at the everyday right fielder, your number 7 hitter, Carl Furillo. And when you look at these numbers, keep in mind, this is your number 7 hitter in the lineup. I've done videos on teams in the past where you didn't get numbers this good out of a 3 or 4 guy. And this guy hits 7th in the lineup. Now let's look at the number 8 hitter, the third baseman, Billy Cox, and his numbers check out excellent as well. So this is just a tremendous lineup. And it was one of those deals where when I was first going through the team and I was going through the cards and I kind of put them in order based on the Diamond Gems book. So at first glance, I'm kind of thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, this team is really good. And then when I sat down to actually write down the numbers and ingest what I was seeing on the cards, I kind of said to myself, I was like, you know what? I think this team may be the best offensive team I've ever seen in Strat-O-Matic based on just how from 1 through 8, everyone just has a terrific card. I mean, there are just no weaknesses in this lineup whatsoever. And I know I've said that in the past about other teams, but legitimately, everyone in this starting lineup has a very good card. And I don't know if I've ever come across that in Strat-O-Matic before, other than when I did my review on the 1976 Cincinnati Reds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little side-by-side comparison here, and I'm just going to share with you a picture that I took just because I thought it would be easier to ingest the numbers that way. As you could see, the 1976 Reds are on the left, the 1953 Brooklyn Dodgers are on the right. And what I do for the top 3 hitters is, for example, Pete Rose, the 12 out of 33 and 17 out of 33. What that means is his on-base chances versus left-handed pitching, his on-base chances versus right-handed pitching. And then you look at Ken Griffey on line 2, the 9x5 number, those are his hits with multiple base advancement versus lefties and then versus righties, just to kind of streamline everything. So as you look at everything in a side-by-side comparison, you could see the numbers are very similar. You look at Johnny Bench, the cleanup hitter on the 1976 Reds, compared to Jackie Robinson for the 1953 Dodgers, the numbers come out almost exactly the same. Tony Perez, number 5 hitter on the 76 Reds. You see his numbers, 5x6. Roy Campanella, 5x7. George Foster, 76 Reds, 5x7. Gil Hodges, 5x6. So the numbers are very, very similar between these two teams. I would say if the 76 Reds offense has a leg up on the 1953 Dodgers is because the 76 Reds have a little more of a left-handed presence than the 1953 Dodgers do. The only lefty bats in the 1953 Dodger lineup is you got Gilliam leading off at second base, who's a switch hitter, and Duke Snider batting third, who's a left-handed hitter. And similarly to the 1976 Reds, you've got Pete Rose, obviously a switch hitter, and then you got Griffey and Morgan, who are both left-handed hitters. But again, that's not something that is a deal breaker for me. Just as long as you have, for example, a right-handed bat who is not adversely affected facing right-handed pitching. I do grade righty-lefty mix, but it is also righty-lefty mix and depth in the order. And there is no doubt the 1953 Brooklyn Dodgers get a perfect score of a 5 out of 5 offensively. This offense is just as good, if not better, than the 1976 Reds. Now, the Brooklyn Dodgers did not score as high as the 1976 Reds. You can see their final score comes out to a very good score of a 3.9 out of 5. That's basically because, and again, just to review, the starting pitching, I would say, is just a little bit above average, and the bullpen is really nothing to write home about. And for those of you who remember my video on the 1976 Reds, what really put the 1976 Reds over the top in being my highest grade to date that I've ever given out, as they scored a 4.6 out of 5, was not only was the offense perfect, they scored a 5 out of 5 for that, but they also got a 5 out of 5 in the bullpen because of the combination of Eastwick and Sarmiento. But that's not to take anything away from the 1953 Brooklyn Dodgers. 3.9 is an excellent score, and if you ever sit down to, well, let me put it this way. If you're sitting down and you're playing against the 1953 Dodgers, I hope you have really good right-handed pitching that is good at getting right-handed hitters out. Because honestly, that's the only way to get this Brooklyn Dodger lineup out. Just outstanding in all offensive categories. On base percentage, runner advance hits, righty lefty mix, depth in the order is just a terrific lineup. And the other thing that I do like about the 1953 Dodgers too is that they're not a team that is really going to hurt themselves in the field. Again, the only weaknesses in the field is you got Jackie Robinson in left, who's a 4, and maybe your E ratings at first base and shortstop are just a little bit above the area where you want to see them. But again, this is just an absolutely terrific team. So Brooklyn Dodgers, 1953, the 105 win National League champions. They score a 3.9 out of 5. And in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I think this is the best offensive Strat-O-Matic team that I've ever seen. So if you ever get your hands on them, check them out. Let me know in the comments what you think. Once again, I thank you all for watching. It is greatly appreciated, and I'll talk to you all down the road.